Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show. We got a special episode tonight where we're going to talk about some guys from the HPT and what they're doing in the community, not just with basketball and music, but all these other things that they're involved in. So first, we want to welcome Coach Willie Gause and DJ G Hicks. All right, two guys that have come into our life, and we are glad to have them on the show. Welcome, guys.
What's up, guys?
Thank you so much for having us.
G Money, G Money from New Jack City. We need some New Jack cops.
Hey, look.
Coach Goss, we had you on before. Welcome back, guys. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Both of you are deep in the community down there, and we want to talk about sports, but we also want to go beyond that. And before we get started, our usual little thing is please subscribe to us on YouTube, the Kirk and Byrd Show, BYRD, at the Kirk and Byrd on Twitter. We'll put our Instagram up there, and then if you want to listen to us on audio only, that'll be up there. We'll stream it for the next couple of minutes. But guys, welcome back. Two fun people. You're doing great things in the community with what you're doing for kids, what you're doing with your business, and Coach, what you're doing with coaching and ministry. So, Rusty, kick us off with the questioning because I'm just a PR man.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, let's we'll talk about what you guys are doing now, and then we'll go back to a little history. So, Coach, we've heard a little bit about you in the past on other episodes. So we'll start with you, DJ G. Tell us a little bit about what you do, as a career with music and the impact you're having on the community.
All right.
He picks up the phone on the request line.
Yeah, that's one thing. But career-wise, I'm actually a travel advisor. So I work in the travel industry, been in the hospitality industry for about 18 years. As far as the music aspect of it, entertainment-wise, I've been doing events in and out of state for about 18 years. Win or lose, I haven't been DJing, but for about 2 years. I've been DJing. Yeah, I've been DJing for 2 years. I started DJing during the pandemic because a lot of the clubs and stuff were shutting down, so I couldn't do events. So I decided, my cousin let me borrow some of his equipment, and like Coach G will tell you, and if you've ever seen me, I don't wear headphones when it comes to DJing. So, and a lot of DJs do that have come before me. So I just got my own equipment and I started DJing on live because I knew it was something, that the world needed during that time. Because a lot of people didn't know during the beginning of the pandemic what was going on. So I just used music to build people's spirits. Not saying that I did it before D-Nice, but I'm saying that I did it before D-Nice. And I know this is recorded, I know it's live, but I was on live in front of the people before mainstream DJs were going live. And I was getting a lot of feedback from it. So once we were able to go back out, instead of me just doing the events and paying for the clubs and renting for the clubs, I actually started doing my own events and DJing my own events, which led to me getting booked. And from 2020 to now, I want to say I'm 47 weddings in.
Wow.
Within the 2 years. I mean, God's been blessing me, man, because I feel like with the same as you guys, I was on a radio station last year, internet station. Then I started doing Mixcloud, and I just use my platform. It's a platform. I got people listening. I got people following. So I just try to use my platform for something positive. If I can use music, I never know who's maybe having a bad day, who's having a rough time. But music seems to soothe a lot of different things. And then during the times when I speak on the mic, if I can say some things, have a good time, add some humor. If I can say something uplifting or positive or, just give an encouraging word, I just feel like I got to use it's my job to use my giving talent and my platform to pretty much uplift people and have a good time.
Speaking of your platform, we're going to put across the screen and we're going to roll it for a good 2 minutes. So people can jot it down or put it in their phone. It's at Party with G, G-E-E, at Party with G, like G Money in New Jack City. Not G Street off Pembroke Avenue, as we said.
No, not that one.
That's Instagram, Twitter. He's got TikTok station. We know how big TikTok is. And then his website is www.partywithg.com. That's G-E-E. You can find out all the different things that G's doing. I know he does a lot of stuff at y'all's games, Coach Gause, and I've heard it's a lot of fun. But yeah, go ahead and definitely check him out. So I wanted to plug you there, and let's make sure we plug it one more time before we get off the air.
Definitely appreciate that.
Rusty, you're on mute, man. You're being all demonstrative, no sound.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. Yeah. So what I was wanting to say was just that I was blessed to get back in contact with DJ G. I didn't realize we family, man, from back in the day.
Right.
Your mom, Frankie, was when I was a little kid. She and my uncle were real close, and I used to hang out with her. And then when it turns out, then when you were coming up, I know your mom has definitely kept in touch with my mom. Like you knew me and my brother, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's same one. Yep, Miss Jackie,
Yeah.
that's my mom's. Yep.
Absolutely. Your mom actually has a picture of my daughter and I. My daughter's will be 22 this year, but your mom has a picture of my daughter and I when my daughter was 2.
Wow.
And I went to one of the I had to go to one of the driver's training classes.
Okay, me too.
And she still had to. You had to go to the training school. Did you have to
go to driver improvement? Man, I don't even want to get into it. The police, that blue line, man, I ain't even gonna get into that. Man, that man was wrong. He might look for me, man.
I got you. But yeah,
Gee, you went to Warwick and
95.
graduated. Ferguson? I'm sorry. That's right.
I went to Warwick in 95.
You went to Warwick. Okay. What year did you graduate?
95. I graduated in 95. I was fortunate to
one of the last ones.
I don't think Coach Gause, were you here? You weren't here then.
No. You said 90?
Yeah, 95. Not 90, man. 95.
No, 95. I was still in high school, man. I ain't graduated high school at 98.
Okay, so you didn't get to witness the Fort Eustis tournament.
No.
Oh my gosh! Did you see my show with Marcus Michael and Lee Martin? Man, them old Fort Eustis Christmas tournament.
You didn't get to see Brett. You didn't get to see
Brett Harper and Marseille and all them. Nah.
Coach Gause, you were down in Durham slow dragging the men, 95. My years.
The Bull City, where the girls are ugly and the guys are pretty, baby.
Well, look, what I did want to say is this, and we're gonna get with you next, Coach. Is so after G, saw our show and we promoted it, you reached out to me, and then you sent me a link to one of your shows, your live show. And bro, I'm gonna tell you, so when we do our show, we normally say, hey, what type of music are you into? And to be honest, I just like old school, and I listen to gospel. When I'm listening to music, I can't get into some of the newer stuff. So it's Kirk Franklin or whatever my wife's got on in the car, or it's old school. So my kids, they know Michael Jackson, they know Run DMC and all that. But bruh, when I heard your joint, like I could not. It was like, first of all, being in Northern Virginia, we don't get music put together like that. That reminded me of home. 757 with my boys. I don't know if you know DJ Lance Reynolds. They used to have Third Dimension. It was DJ Lance, my old college roommate Jamie Foster, Scotty. God, I can't remember Scotty's last name, but the way they put the music together, and you could not help but dance or bop your head, and that's what you did. So, bro, I was like sitting into all my boys. I was like, you gotta listen, because this is what we grew up on. So I appreciate you keeping that flavor, that home style. And you know what? I thought you were much younger. So 95, you're still young. But too. I'm going, I thought, how did this brother know all this great music? Man, I know that's part of it. You was right there. You was right there with this generation.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, we got another distinguished guest, Coach Gause, head basketball coach at Kecoughtan High School, corner of Woodland and Fox Hill Road. Coach, why don't you tell us tell our audience a little bit more about you. Last time was a basketball interview. This one's a little more timeless. We'll probably get some more views. So why don't you just introduce yourself like you did last time? We know you're from Durham. You're not a Virginia guy. Durham Bull. So go ahead and tell us how you doing.
I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody.
Amen.
GP, are you with me?
Like I said, Coach G, as I'm better known as, I'm outside of basketball. I'm a lead security officer for Newport News Public Schools, working in Mitchell High School. Currently, for the past 6 or 7 years, I was at the alternative school, Enterprise Academy, which was probably one of my greatest assignments. Enjoyed coming to work every day. We changed it from being an alternative school to an opportunity school, taking young men and women who had went down the wrong tracks and people had cast away to be able to get them to graduations and to doing great things that they're doing today. Also been blessed and honored and favored to have the ability to be a youth pastor at First Baptist Church, Jefferson Park, where pastor is Reverend Dr. Reginald C. Woodhouse, who is a member of the Hampton School Board. So I work along with him, not just with youth, but youth and young adults. That has led me to be the Youth and Young Adult Director for the Tidewater Peninsula Baptist Association, which is about association of about 37 churches. So I get to oversee youth and young adult activities, ministry moments, training, things of that nature. Also, and one of the founders of 757 Coaches for Change, which is a nonprofit organization that was started, though that was birthed out of the 804 area. And we just put a little twist on it. Came out of the George Floyd movement, but some of the guys, Dale Harris, Coach Darrell from Armstrong, those guys, Ty White, all those guys, I took their model, brung it down to the 757. But during the George Floyd movement, everybody was, community activists were running to Minnesota. They running to Minnesota. They were running up for Freddie Gray, which was a great cause. But I looked around in our area and saw that during that time when George Floyd was going through the George Floyd thing, we had 6 young people that had died right here in Hampton and Newport News. And so I wanted to do something with a group of guys, Coach Daniels from Phoebus, KK Williams, who was at Lafayette, Thomas Woodhouse, who was the girls basketball coach at Kecoughtan. We got together, put our heads together and said, man, let's try to make a change within our young people, and how can we make a change in our young people? Yeah, I understand George Floyd and all that, but let's make an impact in our community with our young kids that are dying here. And so what better way to do that than to be coaches? Because in your life, there is not one person that can say they never had a coach. And so if we take that responsibility, hey, a coach is the one that has taught you, lessons in life from rec league on up. And so we can do our part as coaches to teach them more about the game of life than the sport they play. Then we can impact and change the world in a different way. And so I do that. Do motivational speaking, have a motivational speaking company, Unbreakable Motivations, where I've been blessed to be keynotes for different things like the Newport News STEP program. Went down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and spoke for the South Carolina Mothers Against Violence. Got some things. This year I'll be going down to speak for the Believe Achieve Academy, their awards banquet down in Charlotte. So I've just been blessed and favored, man. And, I say it, it's a Williams Brothers song, but I really, that's who I am. I'm just a nobody, but I'm trying to tell somebody trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. And just you don't have to be super spiritual, but it's just important to have a higher being and know that if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And if you can think it, you can manifest it. And if you can think better, you can harvest better. And so that's what I've tried to use every platform, I've been blessed to be on, to be able to help others. And it's amazing. I know we'll probably get into it, how me and G connected. Just one night on Facebook, man, somebody hit me in the inbox. I was like, hey, man, I've been watching you. I want to come, I want to connect with you and do something great and, with your program. And he just came over and he took us to the next level that allowed us to, not only have a home court atmosphere, but, gave kids who didn't have support, who didn't have parents that was coming to the game. Now, aunties and uncles and cousins and moms was coming to the game just because, the cave was a vibe. It was an experience that you had to have. And so we started calling it the Kecoughtan experience, the cave experience. And that's what it turned into. I mean, you had people who didn't even know how to say Kecoughtan, but they had to come and witness the cave experience, and so that was the greatest thing about it. But, and then just having to be able, have an opportunity now to be able to open up some doors, for G, just with different things in which he's doing, just a good-hearted brother who, is not doing it for fame. He's doing it, just to truly give back. So that's what I'm with. And then I get an honor to, the Good Book Diary said that your gifts will put you in the presence of great men. And so I look at you guys, what you're doing, a lot of podcasts out here talking about a whole bunch of nothing. But you guys are, promoting strength and unity and celebrating, our local stars. We got so many kids that are looking, to Hollywood and to outside of their surroundings for motivation whenever you guys are doing something that's special, which giving them, examples that they can look at and say, hey, this guy lived on the same block you live. Yep. Now look at them. And so that's why it's an honor to, to be here with you guys and, and just support you guys with what you're doing.
Yeah, I
appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah, thank you. But, it's so different growing up now than when we all grew up because there's so much pressure. I literally, we did a podcast, was it 2 nights ago, Rusty? Yeah, it was Sunday. No, it was last night. And we were talking about, this 12U versus this 12U. I swear to goodness, I saw 8U, and it's just like, there's so much pressure and there's so much money. Then there's a lot of people making money off of kids and misguiding them. And, you guys you've got your finger on the pulse more. So my question is, things like social media allow us to do this. They allow you to be a DJ on the internet and you can gain international fame, but also at the same time, there's a lot of things out there. I saw a kid, Archbishop Carroll in DC, who's visiting UVA. 400,000 people watched his, or 3 million people watched his 40-yard time, and that made his NIL money stock go up $340,000. So my question is, the challenge with youth now, because this world's gotten so much bigger, but smaller. I mean, what do you see the challenges are? Because the kids, they see the glamour, they see the multi millionaires, but they don't necessarily see the people that get caught up and get used by the system. And both of you are involved in organizations that educate these children. And, of course, there are, lots of different ways to make a living in sports, entertainment, and the arts, but there's also a lot of things that education can do. What do you all find working with the youth now for a couple of guys like us that didn't have, we barely had cable TV, we were 12 years old?
I can say, and I know Coach G can attest to this as well, because although my oldest kids are 21 and 20, I have an 11-year-old. So I can say raising a kid that age and all the things they have the access to, like you said, it's so much stuff that they have access to that we didn't, you know? So it's you really being a parent, you have to do some extra parenting when it comes to this, because there's so much that you have to eat. It's not really shielding your kids, because if you don't show your kids, or if you don't let your kids do it, somebody in school is going to do it.
Right.
Somebody at their school is going to turn them on to something that you may not turn them on to. So it's up to you to tell them what's right and what's wrong. Like with social media, right now, the world is based off of perception. You know, what looks like something, what looks like, oh, these guys online. And I use the example of, you can see somebody get in a car and take a picture of their steering wheel, which could be a Mercedes or BMW or any kind of high-end vehicle, but it could be a 2001 Mercedes. But all you saw
Or
was,
it could be rented. Or it could be rented.
any of those things. But all you saw was the logo of the car, because it's the perception, and it's the things that perception with our kids, especially our younger kids, to get to see the Steph Currys and get to see the Mikey Williams and all these kids. They get to see them online and they get to see the highlights, but they don't get to see the work that they put in to get to that point. Right. They don't get to see the hours in the gym, unless then you have to get like a Netflix special or something like that. So it's up to the coaches or the mentors or the guys that are really stepping into the community to break it down to these guys. Like, listen, I told my son, my youngest son, because he's into basketball, when I took him to the PIT, which was a lesson, it's 60 people that go in the NBA draft every year. What makes you feel like right now, today, that you're going to be one of those 60 when it comes to time? You know? And he looked at me like, it's only 60? Like, it's only 60 people? You know? But those are things that people that are his age don't know. You know, a lot of people don't know there's only 60 people that go in the draft. And you're not even counting those.
And of the 60, everybody don't make the team. And then it's
only 35 or 40 make it.
Because the guys that got a job don't want to lose it.
Exactly. So my main thing with that is, I tell kids all the time, you're playing now, your parents are making an investment. Like with my basketball program, I've got brand new uniforms. Like I said, they're behind me, sublimated. I've been in 2 tournaments out of state. Our parents haven't paid a dime yet. And I'm going to keep it that way, because it's not about the money for us. Now, when it comes to traveling, yeah, you may have to pay for your hotel rooms, but my organization isn't about making money, because I've been in this business long enough to where I can reach out to sponsors. I got businesses and people that like what I've done, or I can barter my services and say, hey, I can DJ you guys' wedding for your business, or I can DJ a business day for you. You just make sure my kids have uniforms, or you just make sure my kids have book bags, or you make sure my kids have this stuff.
Yeah. So you guys, go ahead.
No, so what I was going to say is, when it comes to breaking things down to the youth and breaking things down to the kids, you pretty much got to be a better example of, listen, put in the work, do what you got to do. And it's a difference between liking something and loving something. And not because he's on this call, but I recognized a group of basketball young athletes that actually loved each other when I was at Kecoughtan. I couldn't have been at a better program when I was at Kecoughtan. And I'm not just saying that because he's here, but like, I've been to every game they had when I wasn't DJing. I made sure I was at every game, unless it was Gloucester. I mean, like, we're definitely
just not losing. Trip. Yeah.
Right, we're definitely not losing to Gloucester, you know. But I made sure I was at every game, because of the love that I witnessed my first day in the gym when I went and told him that I was going to be their DJ. The love and the example that him and the rest of the coaching staff instilled in these young kids. I was telling my brother, because my brother is at another school, that whenever one of them posts something in their Instagram story, all of them post in their Instagram story. If one player posts a picture of himself, the rest of the team follows suit and post that same picture. So I follow suit and do the same thing, because we're all family, and it shows the other schools like, wait a minute, they really have a unit over there. And then when you come to the gym, it's terrible in that gym, man. I watched on Coach G's when you guys interviewed Coach G the first time, and I definitely appreciate all the love, G, for that and for the opportunity for you guys. But I've had parents come to me and say, "Hey, can you stop hitting those sound effects every time you score?" Absolutely not. This is not for you. This is to make you uncomfortable. And the bad thing about this whole thing, like G said, I know everybody. So I know the coaches, the cheer coaches, and the visiting locker room is right past me. So everybody come out at the beginning, everybody coming out and they warming up, and I'm playing songs, and our guys over there focused, doing what they normally do, sliding on the floor, getting up, shooting layups, warming up, and the opposing teams every game without fail, whether it's the girls or the boys, they over there dancing and having a good time in the warm-ups. I'm like, all right, I got y'all. I've done my job because I'm taking y'all out of y'all zone. And then the coaches walking by, dapping me up. Hey, man, you doing your thing. Halftime, sad faces, pouty mouth. They look like they want to push my stuff over. Because we up by at least 30 at the half, man. And it's just that energy was unmatched. And we all made a good team. You know, I was super, super fortunate. Coach G allowed me to come in and do my thing. And it was, like I said, it was amazing. I've never been in a gym experience, and I'm 44, and I've never been in a gym experience like that. Every home game, and you guys are from here, every home game felt like Hampton and Bethel, Iverson versus Baycoat game.
Oh my gosh, bro! Back in the day,
every home game felt like Bethel and Hampton football game in '93. Every home game had that nostalgia. And then when they had the incident in Mitchellville, and we had to scale back to using the wristbands to come in the games because that cut our capacity down. It wasn't the same. We still gave the same energy. We were still winning, but it wasn't the same. So then once it lifted, because, you know, being a high school athlete, your parents are cool, you know, but having your friends and your peers at those games, they're going to act up, and they're going to do what they do, and they're going to give you more energy, you know. And my place at those games, and I said that after, I don't know if you guys can see this right here, but no, you can't really see it. I'm holding up my trophy that Coach G and the school gave me.
Oh,
and it's just thank you for my dedication and my talents. And I wasn't there to accept it, but in my acceptance speech that I put in my Instagram, in their Instagram inbox, I told them, like, I really wasn't there for the coaches. I got the approval from the coaches, but I was there more so for the kids that didn't have anybody in the stands. Right. You know, that didn't have anybody that was coming to the game on a regular basis. They had that extra body, like, this song is for you, or this energy over here is for you. Everybody else is following suit. The coaches and the faculty was second to me, you know, being there for them kids and giving them opportunity to see, like, okay, this guy isn't like super famous. He's not super rich. He's not doing this, that, and the third. He's not in this organization, but he still cares enough to come out and do what he does for us, man. It was a God-given, Coach G called us the Kingdom Connection. And I feel that way, man. I feel like, you know, God put me in that inbox that night before the season. I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what our season was going to look like.
You know, man, let me tell you something. So go ahead, G.
No, I was going to say, and it's tough because that final Mitchellville game, I had a wedding to do.
He brought it up. He brought it up, not us.
I know, but I had, because it's part of my story. My Friday show, I played every song from the beginning to the warm-up that day because I wasn't going to be there. So I played on my Friday show. I dedicated it to the school. And when I was in the wedding rehearsal, my son texted me and said, "Dad, they needed you." And I really felt that, because that was the first game that was the first game I missed. Other than, like I said, a Gloucester game, but I don't even,
Right.
the Gloucester parents didn't even want to go to that game. So, but that was it, man. And that really, like, going from that whole run that we had and me missing that one game, I felt responsible. I'm gonna tell you that now. I felt responsible because I wasn't there. I felt that on my way from Outer Banks. I was like, dang, man, if I had been there, you know, at least with a megaphone or the iPad, because I couldn't have brought my DJ equipment in the scope, but something, you know, to let the guys know that, hey, because I was at every game.
Yeah.
I was like, what is it? The 12th man.
Yeah.
I'll put that on you. Thank you. That makes me feel
Yeah.
better.
I'll wore it. But you know, one thing I would say about what I'm hearing you all say, and I got a little bit of this from when we first talked to Coach, is that what you're doing is ministry. You know, it's ministry. Now, it's different ways to impact the community, and it takes a village. Like, I've been active in youth sports for the past 20 years. Before I had kids, you know, I passed probably 25, 30 years before I had kids. You know, I was coaching youth sports. I've refereed high school basketball about 28 years now. But then at my church, that was 20 years ago. I started a ministry called Team Jesus that I still put out today, where it was youth working with sports in my church. And we had basketball teams, but it was not just youth, but also adults. I've had men's flag football teams with some of the best in the state, and basketball teams and softball teams with some of the best in Northern Virginia, and we're called Team Jesus. And you know, it wasn't just my church, but I welcome people in the community, and especially I wanted people that weren't saved, because you know what? When they came to a Team Jesus game, guess what we were going to do? We're going to pray before every game. We're going to pray after, win or lose. And for some people, that might be the only time they get, you know, that exposure. But what my overall point about this is it's reaching out. It's being a part of the community. It takes all those little pieces. So you may feel like you are responsible, but you didn't cause the team not to win, but you were a part of the success that built it up. And no matter what, it's not going to matter whether they won or lost. 10, 15, 20 years from now, they're going to remember all those great times they had. They're going to remember you, DJ, and they're going to remember all the funny things that Coach Gause said, but they're going to remember all of that, whether it wasn't funny to him or not, whether he was fussing or whatever. It's just going to be that fellowship, and it has impacted their lives. Look, everybody's not going to go to the league, and I think that's what you're trying to say, right? Everybody's not going to get a scholarship. But you know what? Whether you even didn't play high school sports at all, sports can impact people in so many ways. And so I've learned that through my youth sports, through my ministries. It's going to be about those that's why we do what we do, you know? All right, because we sports meant something to me growing up in Hampton. And when you talk about old school, bro, you know, you're bringing back what we grew up with back in the 80s, early 90s, bro. If we played Phoebus, we were rocking the house. Like, it was, we brought it. You know, the people in the stands had just as much fun as the people on the court. And so if you're bringing that back to the 757, bro, especially the Hampton, Newport News, then I'm feeling it. And so I just want to say, keep doing that, man. The wins, the losses, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you're doing what you're doing together, and Coach, with your ministry, not just with the sports, but what you're doing in the community, that you're blessing people. And those are the things that when they look back, and I tell my kids all the time, because as a coach, as a mentor, I'm like, look, best thing, I don't even care as much about the sports. I'm trying to teach people to be leaders, you know. And I used to coach my daughter's 7-year-old soccer team, and I was like, I'm gonna teach each one of y'all how to lead the exercises, how to lead this. And man, no matter what team I've had, after about two or three practices, I don't even get the kids more. I'm talking about little kids. They know how to do the warm-ups. They know how to do the drill. Each week, each practice got a different person lead. And I said, the most important thing I want y'all to get at us is how to have, you know, how to communicate, how to look an adult in the eye, how to say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, whatever. And then take that on, you know. And so those are the things. And I just want to be able to, like I said, when I see them 20 years from now walking in the mall, I'm still gonna be Coach Rusty. You know, hey, Coach Byrd.
I tell you,
that's what I'm saying.
I tell you the biggest thing working with you for what I've it's funny because so many people, everybody has an idea of what the youth need, except those that really work with the youth. And so people always ask me, like, man, how are you so effective with the youth? That's because I really figured it out. And the biggest thing that the youth need today is one word, and that's value. I have a phrase that I use. I said, what I talk to young people, I say, it's a terrible thing to wear other people's name and you don't know your name. So you got on the Jordans, you got on, the Gucci and the Versace, but you don't know who your name is. And so what's happening now is there is this get rich scheme, and I say it's a copycat thing. So if everybody's playing basketball, I'm gonna play basketball. If everybody's making t-shirts, I'm gonna make t-shirts. I was laughing at the guys in Nashville today. There's about, and I still try to help them out. There's about 9 kids that have made their own t-shirt company. They got different Too Solid, Wealth Forever, Rockin' Hard, and I support them. But as I'm supporting, I ask them, okay, now how much is your name worth? And they look at me. And so I'll bring them a check and say, do you see this check that I got this weekend for people coming to hear me speak? That's because my name has wealth. So I know my value. And so you can have this t-shirt company, but if your name does not have value to it, then what is it going to do? Now, how do you get value in that? What you do is you learn how to operate the business. You learn how to make it not just a t-shirt, but own your own print, own your own copyright label, get into, go get your MBA and learn how to put in stocks and bonds. That's why I applaud G, because he's right. He's not, you look at him as a DJ, and then once you figure out, man, this dude is doing entertainment. This dude he got DJs working for him. So not only you're looking at him as just a DJ, but he has a company. Not only does he have a company, now he's able to be an employer for somebody, to be able to help somebody else feed their family, to give somebody else a chance to. So now that adds value to your name. And so that's what kids need today, is just to learn their value. And that's what we try to teach them. That's what we try to let them know, that, hey, you have value. Use your name. And so with this NEL or this NLI stuff, I applaud it. And I applaud it now, because now the kids are getting the value of their name. It's like learn your name. But with that learning your name, you need to make sure that your name just doesn't end with your first and your last name. That behind it, it says, Rusty Byrd, father, comma, entrepreneur, comma, construction worker, comma, business, comma, Kirk Hilton is a TV producer, radio producer, advocate, G Hicks is brother, son, business owner, entrepreneur, connector, your Willie Gause is father, minister, coach, motivation speaker. So if you got commas, then that adds value to your name. And for our season this year, now, I told the guys, alluded to what you said, Rusty, nobody's going to remember, and I don't ever want you guys to look at the numbers, but this is our dash year. People are going to remember the dash, just like in your life. When when we're all laid cold and laid straight and people are looking at us, they're not going to talk about when you were born and when you died. They're going to talk about what you did in that dash. And in that dash this year, we were able to change a community. We were able to uplift a school to kids that were coming. That's why I fought so hard for them to lift the ban, to allow kids to come in. Because I said, listen, these kids need an outlet. They've been in the house stark crazy for 2 years. You can't take the one thing that they can do, which is sports, to give them something to go to school and to be happy and to be proud about. You got to lift this thing, because it's so during that dash, we brought a community. Not only did we have the coach of the year and the player of the year, but in that dash, Look what we built. In that dash, I was able to have my son see his father coaching. I was able to, as a father, learn how to be a better father. Because I'm telling you, man, my 8-year-old was getting on my nerves, but I was able to go to father on my staff, like Coach Campbell, Coach Pope, Camp. Hey, Campbell, man, I don't know what to do, man. Like, hey, look, man, you got to do this. You got to, G, look, man, I don't know what it is. So G be like, hey, nephew, stop running around. What you doing? You know what I mean? So I was able to learn how to be a father myself. So in between that dash, we were able to do some amazing things. We were able, to showcase Hampton on a national level. Can you believe? And Gia tell you this was the 11th or 12th year to Howard White. This was the first year that the brand Jordan Corporation knew about the tournament. Why? Because Mr. White was so humble. He would just tell people, oh, I'm going to Hampton for the weekend. And they don't even know that they had this big old tournament and nothing going on. So when they found out about it, it was like, whoa, y'all been doing this for 11 years for H, and he never said nothing. So we were able to take his legacy and take the things, his accomplishments. And that's what I love. That's what I love about Mr. White so much, is because he's known now for his accomplishments, not his basketball or his sports career. And that's what I want the kids. Yeah. Yes, I want the kids to know. I tell them all the time, why play for the team when you can own the team?
He was a major. He was a major prospect.
Major player.
It was Kansas, North Carolina, Maryland, and UVA that he came down to, and he went to Maryland. He was a guard. But he's known for being the executive vice president and being an entrepreneur and building that brand from the ground up. And he's someone from Hampton.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I tell the kids, like, why use this basketball, this football, this baseball, that baton, use that to go get everything you can get, and then come back and use it. Like, because your knees gonna go out. Like, I got shin splints. I get shin splints every morning from playing basketball and running. But guess what? So if all I had was my basketball career, and once I left Riverside, like, I sucked. Like, my game was bad. I really found out that I really couldn't play. You know what I mean? But because I used the other opportunities which basketball afforded me, now I'm able to be in the place that I am today. You guys are able to be in the place that you are today because you used your talents, your athletic talents, to build relationships, to build networking, to be able to be in a place now where you can, where you can have a podcast and people are going to look on and hear things. So that's what it's about. It's about value. And that's what the kids need. I'm sorry. I know people going to get mad. I tell them in church all the time. People don't need love. They get enough love, but they get fake love. That's why social media is so big, because the replacement of value. So now I think my value is on the likes. That's why I get on there and I show my body instead of allowing people to see my mind, because I'm doing, my value is in my likes. No, it's not in your likes. You know what I mean? It's in your start to slip a little bit. It's in what you have inside of you, not what you're showing. And it's about value. That's what it's about.
I wanted to point that out because, I grew up a poor kid in Hampton, and I thought with money, everything vanished. Problems, dysfunctionality, a lot of the drug society, alcoholism, drug addiction, molestation, and as Biggie said, more money, more problems. I mean, you meet people with lots of money. They're just good at hiding those things. And then another thing I've talked with people about lately is I wouldn't trade my anonymity for anything. I would not want to be able to not go somewhere and be bothered. There's not a professional sports team in Hampton Roads, but there's a lot of big time athletes, like world famous athletes out of there. See, Rusty and I have been in a pro sports city, and it's like you lose your anonymity. Imagine going to a restaurant and being interrupted 50 times. Imagine people calling you every single day and, hey, remember me? I need $5,000. I need $10,000.
But it's the thing. It's the thing. The people that do have that, we don't really know them. No, and so that's the thing. We think we know because we see them on a commercial. Everybody seemed to get shocked by Tiger Woods a few years ago. We don't know Tiger Woods. We don't know, like, we don't know these people. But some of them, there's a picture painted for us. maybe before social media where we just got images because of commercials or whatever. But now people are crafting their own images with social media, and some is real, some isn't. But in the end, man, like it's defining some people, and it shouldn't. And Coach, I won't talk too much because I'm like I talk and I preach, bro. But one thing you said that really hit home for me is over the years, when even before I had kids and I was a mentor and big brothers, big sisters, or in my church, one of the things I used to say is, "What is your name?" And I try to get my own kids, "What is your name mean?" And because I mentored a young man who would, not always be truthful. And even as he got older, wasn't good with money and doing things and lying. And I said, what are people gonna say when you write your name on a check? Are they gonna be afraid it's gonna bounce?
Mm-hmm.
I said, or what are they gonna say when they just hear your name? When they hear your name, what's the first thing that comes to their mind? And so I've always said, like, when people say, when somebody says Hudson Byrd or Rusty Byrd, like, first of all, my nickname is Rusty, but I am Hudson Lorenzo Byrd III. Okay, and I'm the third, but I grew up in Hampton. But my grandfather in Surrey County, Hudson Byrd, the original, was a legend. And I don't realize that. I go to Surrey County and I tell somebody I'm Hudson, and they know. Oh, they know my granddad and my dad, and that name means something. It means something. And so I just try to make sure people understand, man, whether it's your credit or what your name you call yourself on social media, bruh, you're making an impact. And so make it positive.
Yeah.
I always say, I want my name is two things. And I'll let you go, Kirk. I want my name to be able to open doors for people. But when it opens doors for people, I don't want to be their hero. I want to be their blueprint.
Right.
And so that's how I live my life. I want to work to where my name, and I'm thankful. And anybody that knows me, like, I'm very conscious of my image. Like, when I go out, I make sure that I make sure that everything is straight. I don't run to the store looking crazy because, and I'm blessed. I ain't famous, but I'm notable. And I thank God for that, because it's good to, when you go out and I go to places and somebody like, "Gee, that's you?" And then they bring their kids over and they say, "Man, this was my security guard at school. Hey, man, this is my coach." Going out of the house the other day, kid coming over, he's like, "Coach G, that's you?" And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" Now, I don't know all these people. I'm like, "Hey, man," but I make everybody feel like I remember them. And he's like, "Coach, I was on your first JV team." And I'm like, "The one that went 0-19?" He was like, "Yeah." And he introduced me to all of his kids. And he's like, yeah. Y'all know that prayer that we say every morning? Who's better than you? Nobody. Who's greater than you? Nobody. Yeah, this the man who taught me that. And this was 17 years ago, and now here he is. He has kids. I'm working in the school the other day, and a girl brought her daughter to me, and she was like, "Yeah, this the man who changed my life. He caught me skipping one day, and he told me, if you ever skip again, I'm gonna slap you." Now, you can't tell kids that nowadays, but that changed her mindset. And now it's just, so it's a thing. I want my name to open up doors for people, but I don't want to be your role model. I want to be your blueprint. I want them to be like, and G's he's heard me say this. This my great, this is my tagline that really make me money. It's all right to be a copycat. Just got to find the right cats to copy. And so I want to be that copycat. You know what I mean? I want to be people's blueprint. And I look at people like Ivan Thomas. That was my blueprint. I look at people like Howard White. That's my blueprint. Rudolph McKissick, my pastor, Reginald Wood. These are the people who are doing something. Dr. Jeff Nelson, who I work for security. Like, I want to be these people. I want to follow their blueprint and be success, but get the success to make it in my name.
But that leads to where we're going to go next.
No, I was just going to say, with that comes responsibility. You get a DWI, or you lose your cool with one of your players and you get physical with them, you're going to be treated differently. And one other thing I wanted to put out there, Rusty, is I hope you guys share this with your students, is this.
Oh, definitely.
Small mistake, okay, in this cyber world, I work in cybersecurity, is, you do the wrong thing on the internet, guess what your name's going to be with? Where you live, you're going to come up on the registry for doing something on the internet. And also, forever.
Forever.
Right. And all you kids out there watching this, if you think us adults, educators, police officers, people in the mental health field don't know what's going on Snapchat and the things that are doing, you just got to remember that nothing ever goes away, and it just takes one little small mistake.
Yeah.
A lot of times people lose their lives over very small mistakes.
You were in my conversation today because I was talking to somebody today, and I was like, listen, just because you put your account on private don't mean it ain't out there. Like,
okay, so
if you put it on the World Wide Web, it's on the World Wide Web. It doesn't take it. All it takes is for somebody who don't like me to follow me and screenshot and send it out. Real quick example. I put something out about 2 years ago that I said it's a hard thing to talk to it's a hard thing to talk to young people about death, right? Probably like 30 minutes later, my AD called me, was like, yo, why is the reporter calling me talking about somebody died at Kecoughtan? And I was like, what? So he's like, call the report. I called the reporter. He's like, Coach, I seen your post. I'm like, dude, you don't even follow me. He was like, who died? I'm like, man, I'm talking about one of the kids in my church. What are you talking about? But that's just a prime example of what happened. And he didn't follow me, you know what I mean? And so again, I don't have any of my accounts on private, because and that helps me to know, listen, my mom, my grandma, my pastor, my kids, my players, these folk follow me. But kids got this perception like, oh, I put it on private, ain't nobody gonna see it. Yes, they are. It's the World Wide Web.
I literally go through that with my middle school players, and I have to tell them, you're going to the next level. The things that you have in your story that you think only certain people can see, like you said, if you want to be an athlete, when you become an athlete, that turns into your business. You don't want people to look at your business as whatever you putting online. It's cool to have a good time and dance and do whatever, but if it's your resume.
Yep.
If you're trying to go to somebody's program in high school, and you could be a good player. Like Coach G's come to some of my middle school games and checked out players. I was fortunate to have him there, But if they're online smoking in their story and doing all kinds of stuff, I had to look. It's coaches looking at you right now. You think they want that on their team? You holding up guns? You up here doing whatever? You call females out of their name in your story and doing all that kind of stuff. You think these coaches really want you a part of their program? No, because you're showing what kind of person you are. The same thing with adults. You wonder why you're getting called in the HR office on Monday morning because you done got online and said such and such they don't play with them. And
it's my personal page. Okay.
But look, G, it's the thing. What you said is true for some, but some people you say they're showing the real them, but some of them ain't really about that life. You might be out there trying to act like you tough, but you ain't. And
that's
then
it.
Studio gangsters is what I call them.
They ain't real gangsters, exactly. And
studio gangsters. They hard in the booth, but then when they get out the booth, that's just music. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most of the rappers live in most of the rappers live in the suburbs. What y'all talking about? You know what I mean?
Chris Rock and CB4, he was fake being a gangster.
I was at a conference in Miami this week, cybersecurity conference, and we had a bunch of panels. And one guy who was in charge of cybersecurity sent out a company-wide email that said, you have been discovered to be on inappropriate websites. Click on the link below to respond. Now, that is what you call spear phishing, right? When you click on that, that's when malware gets on your system and shuts down Hampton City schools and all that. But the guy was like, the response rate was like 96%. The CEO said, hey, I'm sorry, I try to watch what I do on the company computer and all of these things. And, it can be very, very dangerous. And another thing is that I really want you guys to share this because before apps were big, right here in Ashburn, Virginia, Loudoun County is the wealthiest county in the country. There was a young lady who was in the 8th grade. She goes to the same middle school that my kids went to. She was chatting with men online, and they found her in a shallow grave. She was missing forever. This is like 20 years ago. So, what our kids are doing, and gee, I wanted to bring this up, is the ministry. I wanted to ask you, what are the challenges of today with bringing children, youth into a ministry, with maybe them thinking, hey, I can't be a normal kid. I can't have fun. I can't listen to music. I can't do this and do that. And that is not the case.
Come on, G Hicks. Oh, you said G. Both of us.
No, G squared.
It's DJ G and Coach G.
Couple up G's.
He said ministry. He's definitely talking to you.
Man, this is the crazy thing about ministry. I got kids at my school that I preach to every day, and they don't know I'm a youth pastor, because I give my most powerful sermons are the ones that's given in the hallways, the ones that's given in the cafeterias, the one that I may have to put in a 4-letter word, and I'm not talking about Luke, John, and Mark. Those are the ministry moments that I give, because this is the thing. Unfortunately, most of our kids today, the only time they go to a church is for a funeral. So when they go into a church, it's something bad. Or the only time they see the church is when there's cameras around. So the church and the church people have made them feel like it's a secret society. So it's crazy whenever my kids find out, man, you a pastor, man, I knew there was something different about you, man. Yo, man, you a cool pastor, man. I'll come to your church. Greatest story I ever had. I had a kid, kid had carjacked somebody. We're sitting in the office. And while we're in the office, I'm listening to my music, and Never Would Have Made It came on. And so the song, never, never would have made it. And I turned it off. And the kid was like, yo, why you turn that jam off? That's my jam. I said, man, you don't even know who that is. He said, man, that's Marvin Sapp. Never Would Have Made It. I listen to that all the time. He said, just because I'm a thug don't mean I don't know Jesus. And man, I tried to blast the speakers in the office of, you know what I mean? And so again, the hard reality about that is because when I was growing up, it was either live right or go to hell. And it was no in between. And so now I'm able to reach a lot of kids and let them know that, hey, the best friend that you want to have is God, because he's the only one that's going to take you no matter how you are. He going to take you whether you fake, whether you real. And the crazy part, he know all about you. He know all of your imperfections. And some people can't handle your imperfections. Some people can't handle when I tell my testimony how I used to sell drugs and play drums in the church. They can't handle that. Some people can't handle the fact that, I was because I had, issues, I had relationship issues that I was a womanizer. Some people can't handle that. What you used to sell, you was in the game, you sold dope, how you preaching? Man, that's why you need to get to know this man named Jesus. Because
Abraham had a little problem with that womanizing too.
Yeah, man, listen, everybody in the Bible, God used imperfect people to do perfect things. So at the end of the day, none of us are perfect. And so I don't try to shove Jesus down in the kids. So I just try to give them uplifting, like, man, listen, just get something in you that makes you feel better about yourself. And I tell them, like, man, it's okay to listen to, some of that music, DJ G play. But the crazy thing is, what he's not going to tell you is before he plays that music, man, the words that he speak on his podcast, it gives me encouragement. Why he's playing to me, and he just get to rolling. He just get to speaking, and I'll text him sometime like, dude, I don't know none of them songs you play, but I'm using what you said this week. You know what I mean? And so, you know, Kurt, to answer your question, the hardest thing about it is getting them not to turn over, but just getting them to understand that, hey, you know, you can do, and there is no image. They think that, oh, I gotta be this way. It is crazy because they think you either gotta be perfect or real bad. And I'm like, you know, first people used to think you had to be perfect. They're like, no, I gotta be in trouble before I come to church. What? No, you don't have to be like, what? What you, man, is COVID really messed you up that bad? You know what I mean? So that's the crazy thing. Is but I think it's, you know, for me, I try to live my life the way to where they can see something different. Not they don't.
Yeah.
It's crazy, you know. Hear what I'm saying without listening. Listen. Hear what I'm saying. Don't listen. I don't want them to see. I want them to see not Jesus through me, but through my life. I want them to see it's something different. Then when they ask me, "Hey man, why are you different than the other coaches? Why are you different from the other security officers?" Right. Oh man, you know, because I'm a youth pastor. That's it. Now they want to again.
Yep.
They want to. That blueprint gets them to that.
You know what I want to say. So we want to start a transition to some more personal things. But as we do that, what I want to do, we've talked about a lot of stuff in terms of mentoring, helping people, be what we've done for other people. Can you tell us before we move on to some more lighter topics, like who influenced you? Who were some of the people that, you know, were in your life, whether they directly impacted you or some people who didn't even know, you know, like you just around you. Like it could have been a coach. It could have been an assistant coach who you didn't even directly ever talk to, but you liked their walk. Is there anybody in your life that that influenced you? It could have been as a youth or even as an adult.
Yeah, I'll let you go first. DJG.
Man. For me, it probably was my mother, more or less, you know, just because that's who I grew up with in the house. And then like my father and my mother weren't married, but my father was always around, you know, like I knew, like if I saw certain things like for Christmas and different things and what have you, I always knew that my father was there, you know what I'm saying? And then as I got older, we established a relationship. But my mom got married when I was 10. So if it wasn't my uncles and my nana was super strong. My mom's first husband, her father, which is how I got the last name Hicks. He was assistant principal in Mitchellville for a long time. And he was in the school board too. So that was one of the people that I looked to, you know, just coming up. Because he was always a stand-up guy, always went to church, he always seemed to do the right things. Of course, you know, people don't, you know, always do the right thing, but he just had an aura like before Michael Jordan, Dr. J, he was one of those kind of cats. He always seemed like he had a suit on. Even when he went to bed, it just seemed like he might have had a suit on. You know, it was the aura that he had. And then after that, like I said, I look at my father, and after that, when my mother got married, man, my mom's husband is an amazing, I'm going to say my mom's husband saved my life, you know, because when she got married to him, I was 10, but that's when the lights stopped getting cut off. The water stopped getting cut off. The meals were consistent, you know, so when she got married to him, it was like, all right, granted, I felt like I turned second place then because now you're trying to be a husband, now you're trying to be a wife, and you're trying to be a mother to somebody else's kid. So it's like I'm over here, but that's when I fell in love with music. You know, that's when I really got, you know, in the headphones. And like Coach G said, and like the question that you guys asked, how do you know to, you know, how do you convert people or how do you let people know that going to church is cool and everything is all right? You know, Because my mother was one of them kind of like everything was of the world. I couldn't watch certain movies growing up. Like some of the people that used to go to our church saw me DJ on the weekend and was like, "You DJ? I know you know." Like, hey man, listen, I'm making up what I didn't do when I was young. Trust me. I couldn't watch certain movies. I couldn't do a lot of things because it was of the devil. You know, my mom was one of those kind of people on her earlier walk with God. Now she's a totally different person. And that's what my faith gets strong into. That's a whole nother episode. But just when they got married, man, I saw a totally different side of how a man can love a woman and her kid that's not his. You know, how a man can love somebody else's family and do for somebody else's family. Like, my mom's husband is an amazing cat, bro. Like I said, my father was definitely instrumental, and I definitely look at my father as a great, great, great man. He's a great man in the community. He does a lot for a lot of people, a lot for my family. He's a superb grandfather. He opens a lot of doors, phenomenal businessman. My dad is like everything, but my mom's husband was that guy when she got married. It was like, okay, this is how a man is supposed to take care of his family. This is how a man is supposed to treat his wife. This is how a man is supposed to make sure that all of this stuff is taken care of, you know. And I still struggle with a lot of things. And I'm not one of those people to blame what I didn't do growing up, because once you get to a certain age, you're responsible for everything after that. You know, if you didn't learn about, if your parents or school didn't teach you about credit, you can ignore it as long as you want to, but it's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to you to man up and learn about these things.
It's my parents' fault because of my childhood. Runs out of steam real quick after 18.
Right. After a while, you kind of gotta let that one go. So you know, it's one of those things. There's certain things I still struggle with, even in my age. But at the end of the day, it's the lessons that I've learned, and like you said, the people that I've watched, man, and just the examples that I've had. And I know everything isn't always perfect, you know, because I tell my mom's husband sometimes when they get to talking, I be like, man, I don't see how y'all been married 35 years. I would have been going the first 2. You know, but I'm thankful that he wasn't. You know, I'm thankful that he wasn't gone within the first 2, because he just gave me an example. And he didn't do much. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't he's not a stylish guy. He's not into any of that stuff. He went to work, went in the garage. That was it. But we never missed anything. And my mother doesn't want anything. So that definitely stood out.
DJG, I have and you know my mom and my stepdad, I have a very simple, you just told my story. You just told my story too, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, what about you, Coach? You know, but it's for real. That's my stepdad and my dad same. Yep. How about you, Coach?
For me, it's number one, it's my mother. Just because my mother showed me what being committed means. My father died when I was 2 years old, and she told my father she'll never put another man over his children. And now I'm 41, and my mother's never been with another man, never been married, you know. But in that, my mother raised 2 kids. She moved to Durham, North Carolina. She became a preacher in the Pentecostal church, which, you know, that was not happening in 1988. We moved from a small town to Durham, North Carolina, where, you know, I moved from a small town where I thought my name was Pibbs to Durham, where I found out my name was Willie. And she just made it work. She got 3 degrees. She raised 2 children, went back and got 3 degrees. She would work 2 and 3 jobs, but I always had everything. I had a color TV in my room, you know what I mean? It's just, and so that was my mom, you know what I mean? And so she instilled a lot of the work ethic in me. And then coaching wise, Jay Joyner, Mr. Joyner was a guy that I met in Durham, North Carolina, who mentored me, but he taught me how you can mentor young people and not have to sleep with their mamas. But he, you know, he taught us about, the group was called Sophisticated Gents. And every Wednesday we had to wear ties and dress up. So when I started the game, when I started coaching, Coach G used to wear bow ties And that's how I got my name. They were like, why is this guy coaching JV basketball in a Steve Harvey suit and a bow tie? Because I was a sophisticated gent. And then lastly, man, who is undoubtedly, the person who shaped my life is my grandfather, LD Melvin. And he passed last year. I gave his eulogy and I told them, my granddaddy gave me everything in life. But the last thing I asked him before he died was, granddaddy, can I have your shoes? And because in his shoes was the things in which I needed as a man. In his shoes, he had direction because he focused on the word of God. He knew that the word of God would lead him. In his shoes, he knew how to take care of his family. And so he made sure that he worked. He had that work ethic and everything. And then in his shoes, he had a dance. He always gave God a praise, whether we were eating with sandwiches or where we were eating at Captain George's. He always took time to give God a praise. And so, for that, now growing later in life, how was I able to make it in the community and understand this coaching thing and coaching and ministry? Ben Moore, when I first got here, got into coaching, Coach Moore took me under the wing, took me on his wing. And I saw this, this loud talking guy that everybody loved, that he made everybody laugh. And I was like, yo, everybody knows this dude. And it wasn't about him winning or losing. It was everybody knew Coach Moore. And I was like, yo, who is this guy? Like, what is he doing? Man, I want to do that. I want everybody to love me like that. And so, whenever he died, we came up with this. It just came off the top of my head. I said, he taught me that it was more than a game. He told me that it wasn't about X's and O's. It was about what you did, after the game. Taking these kids and talking to them, show them a better life. More drove kids, to practice, picked them up, gave them food, taught them all these things. So Ivan Thomas came and showed me the different blueprint from, what the coaches was doing here in the 757. Coach Thomas came and said, I ain't gonna hang out with a lot of people. I'm gonna build my brand. And I'm like, well, what that mean? I'm gonna build myself. I'm gonna be known as somebody who builds a brand, who does something different. And so, that's where, Coach Thomas came down and he put the guys in sweaters. And they like, what? Nah, everybody was wearing jumpsuits then. And here come Kecoughtan out with sweaters. And so that's why I followed that model. And so now, we built this, and it was funny because I tell people Coach Thomas built the legacy. He built the empire, but it's harder to run the empire once it's built. You know what I mean? So I've had the daunting task of keeping it going, but that was because, Coach Thomas showed me how to do that. He showed me how to coach and be a father. And then he showed me how to coach, be a father, build a brand, to build a community. In security, Dr. Jeff Nelson, who just, was a worker. He worked, he knew everything about every position, and so guys like that. And then and realistically, man, this is the crazy thing. One of my biggest mentors now is my son Zayden. Listen, my son Zayden never meets a stranger. COVID, non-COVID, Zayden gonna give you a hug, and everybody is family. That's Uncle G. If he walked up here right now, he'd be like, "Hey, Uncle Rusty. Hey, Uncle Kurt." And I mean, and that's just it. Like, everybody's family. He loves you. He's gonna hug you. And I'm talking about, we can have a knockdown drive. I mean, I fussed him out the day in the car. Why you touching my window? Because I'm ADHD or I got OCD. Hey, why you touching my windows? Just got it clean. Da. And he was like, So, Daddy, how was your day? Like, he just, like, nothing bothers him, you know what I mean? And so he's my role model to always never let anything bother me. And when he gets up in the next morning, I could beat him the night before, but when I get up in the next morning, he's always giving me a hug. Good morning, Daddy. Man. I love you, Daddy. And so he's teaching me this, like, yo, life is too short, but enjoy. Love on people. Don't take things so, so hard and so serious. So with me, man, you guys are inspiration to me, because now I'm trying to figure out a way with GM will holler at you. Now I got to figure out a way of how I can give back. Okay, so now what I got to do to be able to support, some of these other guys that are coming up and, and doing these things. Because again, man, you guys are in Lawton, y'all know them, but y'all are coming back and bringing back where you're from. And how many people have forgotten where they're from? What I mean? Kirk got
a lot of people up here have, trust me.
Yeah, Kirk got a $475,000 house. You know what I mean? But he's sitting here talking to me. You know what I mean?
$475,000 will buy you a doghouse up here, and I rent. I don't own. But
Kirk, you stay in Loudoun County, man. I can't even buy gas up there, Doc. So you might own, man.
I did want to point something out in all seriousness, and that is, Rusty and I, we love sports, and it's an escape. We love to be entertained. We love movies. We love to talk about food. But sports teaches you how to fail. Sports teaches you how to lose. I've been the best player on the team, and I've been at the end of the bench. And both are learning experiences, and failure is a regular part of life. You're going to fail. And, for anybody out there listening that thinks, well, I've got to have a strong stepfather or a grandmother or mother, there are kids out there that don't have that. And there is a way out. And,
you still make it.
Yeah. And coaches, regardless of whether or not you're a recruit or, you're big time, it's that structure, it's that discipline, learning how to fail, learning how to be in a group dynamic. There's a group dynamic in everything that you do in life. Girl Scout, Boy Scout, church committee, fraternity in college. You're going to find out when you get into a group, there's cliques, there's the in crowd. You may not feel like you're part of it, or somebody else is getting a promotion at a job that you should get because you're not as connected, like football, playing time, the coach's friend, son, and all that. That's called the game of life. And that's what sports sets us up for. And, I'll let you go, Rusty. But Coach Gause, what you got to remember is people are going to be remembering you 30, 40 years from now, just like we remember guys from the 70s and the 80s. And I had a coach, he never coached me, but he had a birthday today. I called him and wished him a happy birthday. I've known a guy for, 40 some years and made a difference in my life. And it wasn't really sports. So I'm just blessed we have you guys on and that you're able to expose the kids to the different options that they have, because the streets are always there. And the streets up here are just clean because there's money. The same stuff's going on. It's just all shined up. It's not a 72 Pinto, it's a Lexus, but it's still the same thing.
Right. And but you know what I tell people is it's really not the streets. That's where we lost. It's the doors. It's the doors that the kids are going behind. Because in the street, people know them, but it's the doors. And behind some doors that kids walk in, there ain't no lights. There ain't no daddy. There ain't no mama, And then besides some doors, there is daddy and mama, but daddy and mama ain't lovable. Daddy and mama fussing. Daddy and mama fighting. Mama slapping daddy. Daddy slapping mama. So it's really not the streets. It's the doors. But it's the streets where we make our difference. On the streets, they can run into a Coach G or a DJ or a Kurt, and they were like, hey, I seen you on the podcast, man. I really want to do that. You know what I mean? And they don't have anything, but guess what they have? They have the opportunity to see your show and say, hey, I want to do what he does. I want to, you know what I mean? And so, that's what we have to get it back to understanding how the streets can help us for these kids that are coming out of these doors. Because we don't know, I mean, just like we talked about people being wealthy out in the streets, they live in the good life. But when they get behind those closed doors, the Robin Williams, people killing themselves, and you like, man, he got Oscars. He one of the funniest guys in America. You can't make your own self laugh. You know what I mean? And I mean, that's, and so those are the things, those are the things. And I appreciate what you said, Kurt. And that's why I'm so blessed. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. And for much is given, much is required. But that's why I do what I do, man, because I know. And that's what I live for. I tell the kids, listen, I don't want nothing from you except a hat to go play golf. So when I go play golf with my terrible self, people say, hey, Man, who you know at Providence? Oh man, Josh Fortune, Rajay. Hey man, who you know at Queens College? Hey man, who you know at WVCU? Who you know at the Prentice School? Who you know at South Carolina State? So I get to wear this stuff because, hey, I've gave you the things that you could to go on to make a better life for you. And all I want is a graduation invitation and a hat that I can, go play golf.
Amen. That's good stuff, man.
To touch on what G said real quick, man, you don't know how much of a blessing that being in the Kecoughtan program has been for me, because it's opened more doors, that I was already going into, but it's opened more doors because I was in front of 200 to 300 people every game. I've done multiple things, and Coach G's even opened some doors for me. But like he said, just having merchandise, I go out of town. I'm telling you, when I go to somebody else's basketball game out of state, you might think I'm recruiting for Kecoughtan, because I go in that Kecoughtan zip up. I got that zip up on. I walk in the gym. I got my hat on. I got my Howard White, Zion Williamson sneakers. I'm sitting, you don't have to pay to sit courtside.
Hey, Coach. I'm trying to get some gear. Now look, Lee Martin at Bethel, you my dog. Okay, give me some Bethel.
Man, I already told y'all. I got y'all, baby. I got you. I got y'all.
I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna get that. No doubt. No doubt. Y'all have been a blessing to our audience.
Size 12, baby. Who got a size 12?
I'm size 12 right here. Right here.
Size 4.
Size 12 right here.
I know you can't do it, but I would like to sneak in your layup line. I'm just messing with you.
Oh yeah.
No. Hey, look, brothers always got to take it too far. Hey, G, I want to come up with your playlist. It's always
hey, but check this. I got the hottest merchandise out that ain't nobody got. This is exclusive. Y'all ready?
Okay.
G, baby.
Where can we buy that?
Nah, this is exclusive. You know what I mean?
That one right there is an exclusive.
We got a Kirk and Byrd Show shirt. We will definitely bring y'all one. I'm gonna get y'all addresses and put a Kirk and Byrd shirt in the mail. So y'all already got it. We're gonna rock each other gear. Hey, look, man, this has been a blessing. I cannot say enough. Two things I just want to say, though, before we shut this down is, one, when you talk about us giving back to the community, not forget where we're from. I said this the other day on one of our shows. I said I lived in Hampton for 18 years. Hampton, Newport News. I lived in Newport and Denby. In fact, Coach Ben Moore was my PE teacher at Reservoir Middle School. And then Coach Thomas, Ivan Thomas, I refed his games at TC Williams. Okay. So, but anyway, my wife gets on me about this to this day. If we meet a couple of people, they say, "Hey, where are you from?" I go, "I'm from Hampton." And my wife, whose family moved around, like, she goes, "You've been living in Northern Virginia for 30 years. You only live in Hampton for 18. I said, "No, baby, I'm from Hampton. I'm proud. I'm from that 7-5. That's where I'm from. That's what made me what I am. No matter where I go, whether I was playing football on the streets at Hampton." We talked about that with my man the other day yesterday when I was at VCU.
From the 804.
From the 804. No, you're right. I'm from the 804. You are right. It used to be 2 area codes in the state.
Yep.
804 and 703. That was it. All right. So this new 757, I just had to adopt it, because if I say 804, people think the Richmond area. But anyway, so I'm proud of Hampton, where I'm from, no doubt. The other thing is this: win or lose, Coach, you won a lot of games. It's all good to win, but you know what? And touch on Kirkson. Well, I've won a lot of games in coaching youth sports, middle school sports. But what I've told my kids is, the character, I'll see what you're really made of when you lose. Okay, and that's because I've had undefeated seasons, and that's all fun and games. But like, what happens when you lose? And that's when your character comes out. And Coach, what I can say is, it didn't matter that you lost, Coach. You still praising God. You still got a smile on your face. You ready for the next one. So that's what you know what? It gives you something. It gives you something that you're gonna grow from, and you're gonna learn from that. you know, and you're gonna be able to you have a testimony within that in itself. All right, and that's all I just wanted to say. And again, we gonna have to do this again because we gone way over time, but I know we're gonna bless some people with this. Look, we want people to comment, like you can like or dislike. If something you ain't like we said, tell me. But I know this is what's gonna bless a lot of people. And I just thank you guys for being here. This wasn't necessarily just about music. It wasn't just about basketball, but man, this is about life. And this is the real deal. And so thank you guys.
No, thank you for the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
Like I told you guys last time, please keep doing what you guys are doing because people need to hear uplifting. I mean, just the shows that y'all do, just to have the old the OGs back and them reliving their years. I mean, you could see the expressions and the happiness on their faces, man. Even the camaraderie in what you guys did, like with me and Lamont doing the game, like all of that stuff is great. And it's showing, it's really making an impact. And I don't want you to ever think that what you're doing is not causing an impact, because if 5,000 people view this, as long as one person gets something that changes their mind, then you guys are successful. So never be worried about numbers, but know that you guys are making an impact. Because man, I'm telling you, I don't waste time on a school night talking to anybody. But for you guys, man, you guys could have called me at 1:30 in the morning and I would have did it. So I salute you guys.
Thank you, man.
Prayers and blessings over you all. And, I know God has got something great in store for y'all. So, get ready. Because like G said, man, this is a kingdom connection. And so, you guys are on my prayer wall and you guys are on my prayer list. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. I've been in that Kecoughtan gym in 35 years, by the way. So, yeah.
Before we go, I just want to tell you guys, I definitely appreciate the opportunity. All three of you guys on the top of my screen, man. I definitely appreciate everything, this opportunity. G, I appreciate you even shining light on what I did and what you allowed me to come to the gym and do to actually get to this point. And like G said, man, don't with the numbers and all of that stuff, we're a unit. I'll use my platform to continue to push the show and continue to share and, continue to uplift people and open their eyes to what's going on, because that's how it starts. It's all about promotion and marketing, and we one hand wash the other, and that's what we do. But before I go, I want to give a challenge, because that's what I'm about. And look at G's face. I've been talking about it since the first day I stepped in Kecoughtan. And now that I'm on the podcast, it's all making sense. You guys are from home. So we need to put together some kind of Kirk and Byrd basketball showcase, Kirk and Byrd weekend or something like that, because you guys are from home. We got one of the winning. We have, to me, the winningest coach in Hampton outside of football. For basketball is Coach G.
Yeah.
That's me.
Let's do this.
Then we've got the number one podcast. And then I'll put myself in the mix.
And the number one DJ.
The number one DJ.
Man,
let's do it, man.
I will say this. Something that we are passionate about, and something that may be able to be an event that I think we get a lot of participation is for the city of Hampton to put AstroTurf or turf in Darling Stadium. There's no excuse for our kids in Hampton not to be playing on a turf field. There's a lot of money out there in a fundraiser that could be a lot of fun. And, you raise money in a lot of different ways. You raise small chunks, and then you go to, some of that old Hampton shipyard money and get your large chunks. But that's something that he and I both feel very, very, because the athletes down there are elite and they're playing, in a facility that they risk injury, and those kids deserve that. And we've talked with some other people, an indoor facility, a turf facility. That obviously is for football, but that can also be used for other sports. So we definitely put that
out. I tell you what, before we go, G, I'm gonna accept your challenge. I'm gonna see if they accept it. So right here, right now, y'all hear it. I'm putting it out there. This year, Howard White, we need to have the Kirk and Byrd Show live from the Howard White this year.
Yes, no doubt. No
That's
doubt.
the challenge. That's the challenge to you all. You guys live Kirk and Byrd
Live.
Show.
We'll be there.
Y'all can do the podcast. Y'all can do all the interviews.
Yes.
It's y'all's.
Yeah,
They
no,
It's
no.
y'all's.
It's just there's a little more technological work. Like we need.
But we got it done.
We can do it though. It's
There
easy.
you go, Kirk.
Hey,
Nobody gonna take
listen,
that
man.
down, man. Kirk, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Listen. I'm because I'm like an honor. Yeah,
You got to get this out.
We got all of that, baby. If
got
they
all
ain't got it, the church got it.
Come on, man.
If they ain't got it, the church
got
got
all
it.
of that.
I can borrow that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, thank you, man. This is a blessing. So thank you. We're gonna keep this going. We're gonna make sure our communication and we plan stuff and do it the right way. All right. And look,
Yeah,
I
no
got
doubt.
y'all in my prayers too, man. I'm definitely adding you, not to win basketball games, not to throw the biggest party, but to continue blessing. And so I thank you
man.
guys
Thank
so much. You're blessing so many people. And look, Coach Richard, that's my dog. You know, he's a legend. Make sure you tell him I said what's
Richard
up.
Hall,
You know?
baby. Yes, sir.
Richard Hall,
Hall.
man. You know what I'm saying? Look, Lewis Driving School in the house. All right, Lewis Driving School. Hey, I wish they still had it because I'd make my mama sponsor all our show. You would have Lewis Driving School, and my mama would do it. My mama was like, "My baby show."
Hey, Coach G, if
Yes, sir.
we have no problem with you winning the state championship next year either, by the way. Just so you know.
Definitely don't have a problem with that.
We don't have a problem with that.
Hey, listen. How about we just focus on winning the first game? That's what we do. We just gonna win the first. We gonna win the first game. That's what,
As long as that
we'll
game is
talk
not
about
against
that.
Bethel, I'm good.
I don't care if it's against the Lakers. I just gotta win the first one. Make me feel better.
All right. Hey.
Russ, why don't you take us out?
All right, look, remember, you can find us on the Kirk and Byrd Show podcast on YouTube. You can find us on all these other platforms for podcasts. If you just want to listen to audio, make sure you're checking out DJG and continue to support the Kecoughtan basketball community and the ministries Coach G talked about. And the Kirk and Byrd Show is out.